Welcome to Learning with Boys. My name is Rachel. As I enter into the month of October, my mind floods full of the thoughts of warm bonfires, hot cider, and pumpkin pie. But I'm also reminded of the curriculum that doesn't seem to be working, the subject my child is struggling with, and when do we get a break? I thought this might be a good time to talk about evaluating. And there's a lot of things as a homeschool parent that we have to evaluate, like the progress our children are making or not making, and why, the subject one is struggling with, and that curriculum that is not going as planned. But there is one important thing we must first take a look at, and that is ourselves. There are many different things as a homeschool parent that we are responsible for, and we need to be disciplined and take that responsibility and evaluate where we are at with it. I know as a Christian, myself, and as a homeschool mom, I really need to evaluate where I am with my walk with the Lord. I think that for me personally, if I want to see and find answers, that I first need to be seeking the Lord, not just in prayer, but through His Word. I need to be growing and being sanctified through my relationship with God. And I also need to be teaching my children by example of how to follow Jesus. I think at the end of this video, I'm going to share a couple books with you that I actually read at the beginning of this year that I could say are life-changing. So, if you're interested, stay with me till the end. Sometimes it's easy for us, and I have been there, to look around, sort of fret, and feel overwhelmed by the different struggles that our children might be going through. Maybe there are real life problems going on outside of school. But we must remember that the Lord knows about all these things. We need to give it to Him and seek wisdom and guidance and direction. So I really want to encourage you as homeschool parents to just evaluate your walk with the Lord. And I know that's easier said than done. It's a daily dying to self, and honestly, I fail at it often. But I know that my faith is not in things, but my faith is in the person of Jesus Christ. Let's talk about evaluating our homeschool. I believe God gives us different seasons, and I do not mean as in weather, but in our homeschool journey. Some seasons will seem impossible, and others will remind us why we homeschool. I think there is purpose in the hard times and those fun times. We must be intentional in every circumstance and season. We must evaluate how we can walk in a way that would point our children to God. So, how does this relate to curriculum? Well, let's evaluate our children and see where they're at. I know a lot of times by October, we are worn out and tired. We need a fall break, and that is fine. If that is what you need to take the opportunity and do it. I have done it many times, and we actually will probably take a break towards the end of this month. I would like to take this time to encourage you to sometime this month take time to evaluate your children. Maybe you have found a perfect rhythm. Praise the Lord. But ask for discernment if and when you should take a break. I'm going to share some things that I struggled with when my boys were younger and how we dealt with them. First, I had to decide on the best time that we could do school together and individually. Together time was usually first thing in the morning, but a lot of times it would be after lunch. As my boys got older, things changed. The morning time might get a little bit later. Everybody's schedule was starting to look different. Dad's work schedule changed a lot. Sometimes he worked pretty late, so we would be up a little bit later. As they entered middle school and high school, things definitely began to change a lot. Keep those things in mind. Are you expecting your kids to jump up because you are determined to do school at 8 or 8:30? And they're supposed to grab their own breakfast? Now, this can work, but the more you're schooling, the more flexibility you may need to have. You may have a middle schooler growing who needs more sleep for everybody's sanity, or a high schooler who is out late with a church activity. When my youngest was 4 or 5, there was a pretty big age gap. He was up earlier, so I took that hour and worked with him. He was happy to have mom time, and then I could invest my other hours with the older boys. Second, food is very important to boys. First, I always make sure they are drinking water, brain food, I would tell them, and still do. But I know for boys they do better with some protein and not a lot of sugar. Yes, they could have sweets, but I usually tried to hold off for later in the day. I actually went through a period that it was eggs and microwaved in a mug. I'm sure you're better than me, but I had to find the protein. Next, younger and even older children need breaks. Fresh air is the best type of break. I say either outside or we keep doing school. Honestly, for many years, we would take walks. Okay, next. Next thing to evaluate, the big thing, the real struggle. You may have already noticed that your child is struggling with a specific subject. Okay, this is where you are going to have to put the work in. Homeschooling is a full-time job. Honestly, I would really make sure I sat down and figured out what the struggle is. A lot of times they got stuck, but have moved on because that is what the checkoff list said to. But they never really understood. This is the time to back up and maybe even start over. Better to do it now than wait to the end of the year. Maybe they are just stuck on one thing, like the proper order of long division. I would stop and review easy problems first on a whiteboard, give them a few problems each day, maybe increase difficulty throughout the week until they got it. You can start back where they were at when they have confidence. You as the parent have to be just as consistent in being there and checking. Maybe it is their grammar program. Not sure if I should say this, but just like teaching your kids to read, there has to be a time we spend making sure they comprehend basic grammar. I honestly didn't even start this until 4th grade, but I would introduce the idea as soon as they were reading. Quick story before I move on to talk about curriculum. Every child I know is different, and I know boys are quite different than most girls. So I think it was last year I went to a homeschool convention and my sister was with me with her little guy. He was only about 4 months old and she was looking at some beautiful ABC cards. They were sort of new. I'd never seen anything like it, almost antiquish looking. Looked like something I'd love to hang in my house. But I had to be very choice in my words. My thoughts were, as girls, we see the beauty in this thing. But my boys, they don't need that. They want the facts. They don't need the frills. Too much busy work would be misery for them. If they understand the concept and can explain it to me, then we move on. We skip the busy work. So, what about curriculum? Honestly, I have been in the place of wanting to ditch curriculum. But if I would take the time to evaluate the complete picture, I would begin to see that there would be something else making the season difficult. Sometimes it could be that I needed to spend more time with the curriculum and the child. When they are young, we hope to find the perfect curriculum that they will thrive with. But it could be a subject that they need to slow down in and work on or go back and review concepts. This might be a good time to tell you that before you get on the curriculum or research bandwagon, to stop and remember that you make the curriculum work for you. Remember that you're the teacher. You can change it up. You can use a whiteboard and drop the worksheets. You can skip the book nobody seems to like. You can do together time in the afternoon. I hope this was encouraging. I know it can be hard when something doesn't seem to be going as it should. Stepping back and just reevaluating everything first. Seeing if there's other options, different ways you can make the curriculum work is so helpful. I know curriculum is so expensive right now. Maybe there's a friend that has another option that you could borrow and try before you invest. All right, I do appreciate you all watching. I really hope this video was helpful, encouraging. I hope it gave you some insight as we are not real far into the year, but feel like it's been a long time. Sort of like the days are long, but the time is short. So, and really that is how it is. So just taking a little bit of time, and I know it's hard because you are busy. And when you do get a break, you want a break, but just schedule in a couple of hours. Ask your husband, hey, can you take the kids out? I just need to really just go over some things and think some things through, and just be praying about it before you have that opportunity to do it, that the Lord would just give you wisdom. We are a homeschool family of entering our 18th year. I have graduated 3. I have 4 boys. I graduated 3. The third one was in May, and now I am on my last son, who is in 8th grade. And I will continue to share, Lord willing, his school year this year and his curriculum and into high school, and hopefully some more videos that would be helpful and encouraging. So if you have any thoughts or questions or something that's really a burden on your heart, I would love for you to share that below. So, all right, I almost forgot to share these books with you. I'm sitting here holding them in my hand. But as I was thinking about evaluating, I really have, it's been an area that and I think we all have to grow and mature. And that's something I encourage you to remember, that where you're at, especially spiritually, and even, the knowledge that you have, you have to remember where they're at. They're not at that level, and we just need to be sensitive to their needs spiritually, even when we're explaining things to them and helping them understand about God and His Word. But I came upon these books by A.W. Tozer, The Attributes of God. There's a book 1 and a book 2. I think they're supposed to be like a devotional or a study guide. I did do my Bible reading, and then I would read a little bit out of here, little by little. They're so deep that, I didn't read a chapter in a day, maybe a week. I really don't remember. But they were such an encouragement that I looked forward to it every morning, because they are messages that he had preached that they put into these books about the attributes of God. So just learning more about who God is, and in spite of who we are, and so many things just encouraged my heart that I really wish this was something that I had read earlier on and could read again over the years, again and again, because like I said, they were from messages, there's scripture in here, always pointing to God. And one thing I just remember reading, and I had wrote several things down, but one thing that really sticks out is that, God is in His creation. He just expands within His creation, and we always think, is God even in this? Does He know where I'm at? Does He know what I'm going through? And it just encouraged me, because sometimes we're looking for God and He's right there. It's just us again evaluating where we are at with our own walk with God. So such very good books. I highly recommend them. If you have more questions or just want more information about anything I've mentioned in this video, please comment below. I do appreciate you all watching, sticking with me for this long. I do hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you again soon.